All right, hello YouTube. I thought I would do a review on a movie that I saw last night, and that is Thunderbolts. The new MCU movie that's out right now. Um, Before I get into this review, I want to bring something up. Um, so recently, Kevin Feige finally admitted to the MCU's failures. And yes, he has finally admitted that that a lot of the stuff that they've been doing lately, Captain America, the Marvels, a lot of their past projects, he finally admitted that they were a failure. And as a result of that, the MCU is getting a massive, massive overhaul. So they are literally doing the exact opposite of what I believed that they would do. And they are actually trying to fix things. Um, the Fantastic Four is currently going through massive reshoots right now. Um, And from what I understand, Thunderbolts was the first movie, from the from this, massive overhaul, uh, fix. Um, so let me get into the review. So the movie opens with Florence Pugh's character, you know, um, Black Widow's sister, Yelena. Um, she is getting ready to infiltrate this. She's getting ready to infiltrate this base. Basically, she is taking on like contract type missions uh for a woman named, what the hell's her name? Um, Valentina, and the movie opens with this absolutely friggin' beautiful shot of uh Florence Pugh's character, jumping off of a building, getting ready, or parachuting, off of a building, which after doing some research, I learned was the second tallest building in the world. Um, and she's getting ready to infiltrate this, like this base, basically, and and she ends up, one of her missions, um, while she is on, one of her mission, while she is on one of her missions, she ends up coming into contact with uh US agent, Captain America, Wyatt Russell, Ghost, who is technically the main villain for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but not really. Um, she ends up meeting them, and they each of them were basically contracted by Valentina. Um, they were basically, contracted to, take each other out by Valentina. Um, and that is where they meet Bob, who I will get into. I will explain who that is a little bit later in the review. Just a word of warning, I am going to be dropping some minor spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, then I suggest coming back later. But um, so they are ultimately put, in a position where obviously, where they all have to work together. Um, and this movie is basically everything that I wanted in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. And let me explain what I mean by that. This movie is basically even though, yes, it is, an MCU movie, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's really a story about redemption. It's about, everybody, everybody, on the team, has done bad things. They do not, they are all, Yelena especially, is dealing with the ghosts of her past, the sins of her past, and she is struggling to um she is very much struggling to to make peace with that. She spends her time drinking and you know and taking on contracts, working. She's not dealing with it very well. And a lot of this movie focuses on, all of these people have, while all these people have obviously done bad things, they are capable of change. And you have, you have US agent, Wyatt Russell, Captain America, uh, who was just, who was literally just a flat out dick in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he's also a dick in this movie. Um, however, you get to see him, and and really all these characters, really grow um, by by the end of the movie. Like by the end of the movie, they are very, very different people. Um, and a lot of this movie is just about redemption and really accepting, the stuff that you can change, and accepting, the stuff that you can't. And again, this is everything that I wanted to see in James Gunn's Suicide Squad. And it felt, and the characters were just so well developed, very, very well written. Um and it felt, and I think there's a genuine realism to it, like they and one of the things that I complained about in past, MCU projects is I felt like that there were no stakes. Here, with this, with this, the stakes are there. Like you feel, like you feel for these characters. These are all characters that obviously yes, have done bad things, but on top of that, they don't have any superpowers. So they are very, very human, um, characters. And, to deal with, to deal with something like that and to tell a story like that, I think it definitely, it makes it very, very relatable, and it makes it very, very and it makes it just, very, very entertaining to watch. Like I was never bored when I was watching this. Like I was genuinely, entertained and invested in these characters. And and everybody, Wyatt Russell, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, everybody does, yeah, everybody does such a great job. um, I have to bring up Bob because he was one of the highlights of the movie. So he is in fact a character called Century, um, who is kind of the main villain in a sense. I'm not overly familiar with his character. I had to go back and do a little bit of research um on him. I mean, I obviously, I mean, obviously, like I know of the character, I know what he looks like in the comics, but he's not a character that I'm overly familiar with. And when he finally, suited up in uh y- you know when we saw him, in costume, for the first time, I was like, oh my God. I, literally, I was, when I was watching that scene, I was like, oh my God, he looks literally almost as if, he was ripped, right out of the page. Minus, uh, my, minus, the beard, but I'm this movie was just, it was so good. It was so well written. Um, it was so good. It was so well written. Um, and to watch these characters not really get along at first, and you know to watch them, like argue, and um to watch them, argue, and like insult each other, uh and just, that, that tension, that conflict, it adds, it really, really adds to the story, and it adds, and again, and these are all characters that obviously, they are obviously, far from perfect, but at the same time, they are vulnerable, they're human, they, again, because again, nobody here has superpowers, so they're, they're real, they're human, they make mistakes, and it adds a certain it adds a certain level of realism to it. It adds more to, I feel like it adds more to, the story, compared to, if you have, like someone, compared to, if you have, someone like Thor, who's a god, uh or you have, somebody like Superman. But here, to watch these characters, come together in a movie, uh come together in a movie and go up against someone, who is obviously a hell of a lot more powerful than they are. um it's just, it's so intense and so entertaining to watch. And everybody here, Florence Pugh obviously is the main character in the movie, and Black Widow's sister, and she was easily the best part of the movie. I'm her and um her and Century, I really feel, were just absolutely phenomenal. Um the humor in the movie, because of course, it's a Marvel movie, there's going to be humor. Um the humor was, I some of the comedy landed in some of the comedy I can't talk today, guys. Some of the comedy l- landed with me, some of it didn't. Um, which is definitely an improvement. Which I think is definitely, an improvement. If you look at movies, like Thor: Love and Thunder, and all those other Phase Four crap, MCU movies. But there are times when I was like, yeah, okay, that's, when I was like, yeah, okay, that's a cute moment. And then other times where I'm like, ugh. But you know, but even, even there wasn't like so much humor in the movie that it's there wasn't, like so much humor in the movie, that it's distracting, because that was one of the, that was one of the main issues I had with, a lot of the past, MCU projects. But here it felt, um it just it was but here I felt like it was handled well. It was, I mean, you might have, like a couple of, awkward silences here and there, but they weren't, but it wasn't, but it wasn't, like every 10 minutes. where it's just, where you're trying to go, for like a serious moment and then it's like undercut with a joke. It wasn't like that. And that um this movie, for the most part, it took itself seriously, and I couldn't believe how well, um and I couldn't believe how good this movie was. I really, really couldn't. Um I mean, I just this movie completely blew my mind, and I really think that this is the best MCU movie probably since, uh I would say probably since, I mean, I wanna say Deadpool and Wolverine, but I mean, I would probably say since Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, just it was just the and again, you know, and again, yes, I did get, Suicide Squad vibes. It wasn't it wasn't done in a it wasn't done in a way where it it wasn't done in like an obvious way. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't it wasn't done in such a way, where it was like obvious, where you could just where you could just uh it wasn't, it wasn't done in a way where the movie, was literally like spelling it out for you. It was handled very, very well. And again, and originally I had no interest in seeing this movie. Originally, I ended up going to see this last night. I ended up treating my mom for Mother's Day, and she really, really wanted to go. So I was like, okay, let's go. And I gotta say, damn, I'm really, really glad that I went and saw this. There were a couple of things that left me scratching my head. Um, there were a couple of moments that left me scratching my head, but again, it wasn't, but again, it wasn't, enough to take me out of the movie. Um, but, I mean, it's all stuff that will probably, be, addressed later on. My only issue with this movie was I would not have called these guys the new Avengers. I would not have done that. That's really my only issue, with this movie. Other than that, it was just, I mean, other than that, I have to give Marvel a huge round of applause, for pulling this off, because this is the kind of stuff that they should be putting out. Um, and yeah, no, I will definitely be buying this when it comes out, because this was absolutely phenomenal. And Marvel and Disney, just, they friggin' nailed it. And I never expected them to be able, to do something like this again. It was so well written, it was so well acted. The action was phenomenal. The action sequences are literally on par with, uh with the Infinity Saga. um just, very, very well shot, very, very well written characters. um again, this is how comic book movies should be done. This is what, James Gunn's, Suicide Squad should have been. And I'm literally still trying to get over how good this movie was. Um yeah, so no, if you guys haven't seen this, definitely go see it, because unfortunately, it looks like it is going to be a bomb at the box office, which is really, really unfortunate, because this movie was phenomenal. Um, But yeah, so it is currently playing in theaters, and if you're looking for a good comic book movie to go see this. And this actually gives me, I'm hopeful now of what they're going to do with, Fantastic Four, with the reshoots. It's like I have hope now. uh I you know I have genuine hope now, for the future, for the future of Marvel going forward, and for Fantastic Four. So, let's see what they do. Let's see what Fantastic Four is like when it comes out in 2 months. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you saw it and what you thought of it. Like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.